this work?
It really don't.
Did it?
Just change your settings. It'll work.
Hey, there we go. How's it going, everybody? So, disclaimer, I got into this a lot later than everybody else. So I was not spying on you guys' teams. I was genuinely here looking to study team dynamics from other groups. And then happened to form a team at the last minute, a couple hours in. And so when I introduce our project, Highsy is actually a sub-project or a sub-version of a company that kind of already exists. And so Highsy is about, gotcha, personalizing search for consumer decision making. So whenever this pulls back up, we'll kind of get into that. And so here is kind of a gist of the big idea, right? It's not where it got inspired from, but it's a really good breakdown of like this problem and kind of what we were trying to solve on a higher surface level, right? Mark Lore is former CEO of Walmart e-commerce, and what he says is that by year 2040, the way we do search today will be thought of as retarded, to make it in a nutshell, right? The fact that we got to go through many different sites, look at thousands of different options, assess these choices, do filters, go to many different products, see thousands of specs and everything else, and try to do some type of filtering service to make our decisions, won't make sense. In the future, in this 2040 date that he proclaims, we'll be able to simply tell an engine what we want. It would know our preferences, know our style, know what we already have, and then customize its recommendations specific to us and order those results in that way. On top of that is there's this underlying problem with the relationship between businesses and consumers, right? And that relationship is fundamentally broken in terms of power structures and power balance. Consumers today are being bombarded with ads and things to kind of implement the will of the business side onto the consumers using these tactics, and so they nudge our behaviors and our choices according to their wills. But what happens when you can't define best laptop or best college or anything to me specifically, and they get to direct me to the choice? What happens is it leads people to make choices that aren't aligned with their values. And so good products miss out on sales they rightfully deserve, while bad products that don't take the time and do the work to satisfy the needs and interests of the people and get rewarded with dollars they shouldn't have. And so on the business side, that confusion on consumers kind of changes the rules. You don't know what consumers want, value, and need, and then it costs the business on the back end as far as how do I know how many to produce? How do I know where to distribute? How do I know who to market to? As those things change dynamically, and what we wanted to do was restore that relationship between businesses and consumers through tech by building a meritocratic marketplace where the consumers can rightfully explain their values and needs and what their preferences are to the businesses, and then it ranks the choices according to how the users see those things and how the businesses satisfy those values and needs, and aligning the outcomes of both specifically aligning business rewards with the satisfaction that they're able to do for the business. So we designed this personalized search engine, or what we call a perspective engine. And so a perspective engine is a personalized search engine that allows the user to say best laptop or worth or any subjective term, define that in an objective way, either through a set of values, what they care about when it comes to laptops, or by building a point of view by saying, okay, I want to trust this friend, that friend, all of these friends, everyone in the room, and building that perspective, consolidating those criteria into a single criteria, and then ranking the choices according to how you see it. And that's essentially what we set out to do this in a day, right? In a small version. The tech stack we use, built in Golang, Neo4j, etc. The sponsorship API that we use with the gem bones, and I'll kind of let him go into the tech, but just a visual of how this was supposed to go. It starts with a user profile, and this user profile is editable. Sorry if I skip through some of this stuff. So in that user profile, the user defines like their metrics or defines their age, race, religion, all these types of deals. And it enrolls them into these communities. Those communities, missed it. Those communities would be like 25-year-olds, et cetera. So now when I define my values, my 25-year-old values get a vote into what 25-year-olds value. And so I implement my criteria, or I get a vote on the values of the communities that I belong to, but then I can use any of those communities to help me build a perspective when I don't know what I value. So I can say by my age, my race, whatever, sorry. Whatever the case may be, build a point of view. I can add friends, I can build it with my friends. I can say, okay, give me this person's, this friend, etc. And I can go into any of their profiles, and it creates a real-time semantic dictionary, which is the criteria in which I'll judge a laptop or whatever the case may be by. And the moment those things change, it updates in my data, which is the consumer insights, and we feed that to the businesses so they can align their decisions with the values and needs of the consumer. So how the engine looks. Similar, user types in a query. So I don't know if it's too small. But if I typed in something like best college to men's basketball players and I'm comparing colleges, I choose the values of a college that I want to compare on. So I chose graduation rates, academic rates, etc. I gave them an allocation in my decision. Once it gets to 100%, I can hit submit, and it ranks all the choices according to how I see it. And I know I kind of talked through most, but I'll let him kind of get into the implementation stuff.
So from an implementation standpoint, obviously this is a very difficult problem to solve. Google has been doing this for 20 years, so we're not going to do this in 2 days. But what we try to do is figure out how to efficiently map users to particular communities. Communities of people that have similar interests. The way we decided to do that was use a graph database, Neo4j in this case, to actually on the fly create these different communities and users and attributes and perspectives when they go through the registration process. So the flow is the user would go to the website, they would create a profile, they would hit a gateway endpoint that would go through an MFA process. That's where a sponsor came in to where we would then send a text message, they'll get that back, they'll validate themselves. Once we have that, they'll create a profile, they'll name their attributes, they'll name things, who they are, their demographics, to some extent psychographics. We store that, we create, that would automatically create a user node in this database, and then from the user node, we'll also create a communities node. Once it creates that communities node, we can then build a relationship, a weighted relationship between that community node, and now we have a way to determine what type of quote-unquote groups that would belong to that particular user. We have another engine that we call the collector, which basically goes out and collects a number of different, basically products from a market space, a marketplace, and those products will also be added to those communities within these nodes. So now we're able to efficiently query across this graph, get a particular set of user, that particular user and that user's context. We can use that to figure out, okay, what communities we need to look at to determine what results we should return back to that user. Philip gave me a data set that had about 30,000 results, and that was Mac doesn't really do that locally very well. So in doing that, one of the things we realized was it was very slow to run the queries. But that opened up an idea to use Redis as a cache on top of Neo4j so that we could actually parse those queries a lot quicker. We also store them in a hash so that for when we start to get more and more queries, we could determine and see if something that we already saw, we gave those queries some scores, and we know what's popular and what's not, tie those scores to actual things that we found from the marketplace and map everything together with the help of the graph. And then we pipe those to Snowflake, so now we could have bigger queries on those as well. So really trying to tie an ecosystem together just so we could go back and give users back a list of things that really match exactly what it is that they're looking for and not what a business wants you to see. And that's the whole entire idea.
All right, cool. Thank you. Question?
Okay, so we have enough time left for one question. Let's see. I'll go over here.
Oh.
All right, so my question is when you're using graph databases, particularly it's used for recommendation engines and also search engine. In here, the user is searching for an item or anything, or this is more for recommending something. If you could elaborate on that one.
So the user is looking for items. So let's say like they're looking for the best car, right? Now that user has relationships with one or more different communities, right? Communities based on age, race, religion, favorites, relationships with other communities and other users as well. So we crawl that graph and we start to figure out exactly which ones has which results would have the most weights, the most combined weights, and then we'll bring those results back. So it's not just any results, but it's a weighted average of all the results that goes back to the user.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
No problem.
I saw one other question over here, so I'll actually hand that off.
Thank you. So, who would be your index provider? Are you getting the results from Google, DuckDuckGo, or are you going to maintain your own index for results?
We make our own index so a lot of this stuff is kind of different and kind of unique, right? So we are not a traditional search engine in the sense of like search for random terms and get links. We don't rank links, we rank choices, and that's one of the differentiations between like us and Google. Google would look for the words best car on a web page, and it's ranking the page, not the car. And so what we do is focus mainly on like marketplaces. And like I said, this is kind of already based in the company we do, so we got partnerships and things that give us these unique data sets, et cetera. But it is creating our own index. When he's talking about the collector, it's going out mainly marketplaces, et cetera, but building this unique data set of cars or laptops or colleges or whatever decisions that people make, formally object, like putting it in a comparable basis and then assessing the choices as opposed to the links.
All right, excellent work, y'all. Thanks again.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to move into the next phase of this event, which is judging. So the judges and I are going to go convene in the